Hey guys, Joseph Deckelmeyer with the Illuminerdi. Amazing job on this film. Incredible. This is the Michael Myers that I absolutely wanted to see. And David, the question is for you. What makes Michael in this film more scary than any other in the franchise?
Well, I think I put that on you. I think he has this expressionless, emotionless face that I think we project what we want on him. And here he is. I mean, he's a little pissed off because they left him to burn in the basement, but he's out, and then now we get to experience all hell breaking loose through his point of view.
Awesome.
Hi, this is Karen from Czechia. I wanted to ask you both about maybe creating the stunts in the film and what that experience was like of really maybe making them more elaborate than the previous film and that experience working with the cast on that aspect of the film.
Yeah, I'll answer to that. It was certainly a more aggressive physical endeavor than the previous chapter, and so our stunt coordinator Aaron Armstrong, who coincidentally plays the shape in our flashback sequences, but he choreographed some great sequences that show the aggression of the community of Haddonfield as it comes unraveled due to the terror that Michael's bringing to the community.
Hi, Emmanuel Gomez with LRM Online. Jason, I want to ask you, what is it that has made Michael Myers so timeless over 40 years now?
It's funny. I have a real belief that if you belabor a creative decision, it often gets worse. Michael Myers was created, the first movie John Carpenter made was made for $14. They went down to the drugstore to get that mask. It's a famous story. And, he shot the movie like we shoot Blumhouse movies. It was, for a real low budget and a schedule. I think that I think David will agree. He may have a different take on this, but I think when you have to kind of move, sometimes that makes for amazing creative decisions. And I think for whatever reason, the stars aligned. John Carpenter's a genius. Michael Myers just checked every single box of what makes a character evil. And I think that it's resonated for 40 years. It's the James Bond of horror franchises, Halloween, because I think very specifically of the character of Michael Myers and of what John Carpenter did in the first movie. And it's a long answer to your question, but the answer is simply that John got everything right and invented a character that people cannot get enough of.
Hi, Chris Hayner from GameSpot. I wanted to touch on something from the end of the movie. This is for you, David. I'm wondering, why was it important for you at this point for Karen to be at the end of her journey in this story as we sort of get building towards the final film? And are you ready for the internet's reaction to you killing Judy Greer?
Wow, that's a big question. And I have to say that when we were engineering Halloween Kills, we didn't know exactly where it was going. We were kind of unraveling this community, unraveling the generations of Strode women, and then organically that happened. My co-writers Danny McBride and Scott Teems and I, just when we got to the point of resolve, we'd kind of had this almost a climactic, cathartic moment. With Judy Greer's character, and violence at that point shifts to be almost abstract, and the narrative gets more emotional than it does logical, and so before we knew it, Michael got the best of us, and there we were. So how people are going to respond to that, I don't know. I do say until 2 weeks ago, I'd never seen the ending of this film with an audience. So it was very exciting because I adore the test screening process and learning about my film and the structure and where people laugh when they're scared, how it all works. But the way this film ends was always a mystery until a point when it was myself and our editor Tim Alverston and the Blumhouse executives Jason and Cooper and Ryan, and we were just talking about what we felt selfishly, collectively, was the right out to it's not exactly a cliffhanger, but it's leaving us unresolved and anticipating a final chapter, and this just it felt honest.
Yes, this is for David Don Kay from Den of Geek. How are you doing?
Doing good.
David, what inspired the idea of sort of expanding the trauma of the first film to the entire town, and then creating that sort of theme of the mob mentality that can turn any group of people into almost a group of monsters themselves?
Well, there were a lot of characters from the original 1978 film that I was curious about, and as we were exploring what ideas we could do to reboot the franchise, we started talking about like what's Brackett doing now, what's Nurse Mary, and what Tommy and Lindsay were obviously going to be traumatized from their horrific encounter with the boogeyman, protected by their babysitter. How do they respond to that evening's catastrophe decades ago? And so that was a fun thing to be able to explore when we wanted to depart a little bit from just the intimacy of the Michael Laurie good versus evil connection. We decided to explore the blurry line where it's not so cut and dry of who's good and who's bad, and what happens when the best of intentions within that mob mentality start to excite each other. And so yeah, it became its own type of horrific story. Is who is the real monster?
Hi, this is Shannon from Nightmarish Conjurings. All right, this question might be a little ridiculous, so I apologize ahead of time. But outside of Laurie, my two favorite characters were Big John and Little John. They're perfect. I would have laid down my life for them. Is this a concept that you, David, helped to come up with? Was Danny McBride involved in this writing of these characters?
So Danny was not involved in the creating of those characters. I get all that to Scott Teems, who has some sort of real life connection to a big someone so and so and a little so and so, and so they're stemmed from his reality. But Danny did introduce me to Scott MacArthur, who is Big John, and we worked with him on The Righteous Gemstones, and I'd known Michael for years, and so we got two actors that we knew we could rely on to be not necessarily a tension breaker, because there's extraordinary tension within their characters, but knowing the humanity within both of those performers, it was just fun to take a deep breath, experience the Michael Myers house in its different texture, and have a smile while we're getting a talking to.
Thank you. I hope they become Funkos one of these days.
Hi, I'm Terry Menard from Gaily Dreadful. And actually, Don asked the question I most wanted to hear the answer to, but I also was curious what your favorite kill sequence was to film.
Well, I've always dreamed of a good armpit kill. And so that's, I'd say that's the one. That, there's a lot of logistics that go into a lot of these kills, and so it's almost like the technicalities of them can become overwhelming and distracting. But once the sensitivity of your armpit is exposed, then it's actually not that challenging. But it every time I watch it, I jump out of my seat.
Hi guys, Brittany Murphy from Geeks of Color. My question, either of you can answer, but basically it was just about, obviously the first movie had such a great audience reaction. So I was just wondering, do you hope to get the same or better for this film? And what does it feel like as a director and producer to get that reaction out of fans?
We're going to get a better audience reaction from this film, which I'm very much looking forward to. And definitely for me, nothing feels as good as when you're in a movie theater and you can feel the audience connecting with the movie you've produced or directed. I imagine a director is even closer to the movie, so it feels even better for him, but I'll let David speak to that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what appeals to me about this property, is there's such an excited fan base for it. And so as someone that has the opportunity and responsibility of curating or cultivating this real estate, I look at myself as quality control and just trying to do justice to the franchise that John Carpenter and Deborah Hill and Jamie Lee Curtis, these legacy performers and creators have given us. And so it's just amazing to be able to play in their playground.
How's it going, guys? Bernard Smalls, Cash's Life. We have seen Michael Myers slash his way around Haddonfield for years, but something was different about this version. Can you tell me why this Michael Myers was so much more violent than he was in other movies? He was really more aggressive in this movie, and the kills were like off the chain. Why did you decide to go that route?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching it a few nights ago, and it's thinking it's like he got struck by lightning and supercharged or something. But part of it was wanting to up the ante for the audience and see Michael in all of his, you wouldn't call it rage because he doesn't really express rage. He doesn't, but he has been trapped and burnt alive in a basement. So there's got to be something internally that needs to be released, and I think that's kind of how he sees his own sword wielding brand of justice.
Hey guys, can you speak on Kyle Richards' performance? Because it was very powerful, but at the same time, I'm sure many people that are going to be watching it will recall her recent Housewives gig instead of being in the original film.
Yeah, I have to say I've never watched that show, and so when I was researching the legacy performers from the original cast and saw what she was up to, I was even more curious. And so I sat down and met with her and constructed this role for her based on what I felt was an amazing on-camera persona, charisma that we could exploit to our advantage. And you look back to what she did in John Carpenter's 1978 film, and she was she was protected by babysitters, and so there was that moment of a youthful character being navigated by Laurie Strode saying, "Do as I say, go run across the street and save yourself," basically. And in here, it's a role reversal where she meets kids in a playground, and she's there to protect, and she's there to echo the sentiment Laurie gave to her 40 years before. Action.
Happy Halloween.